Hey there, it is Diana Lopez, your bariatric dietitian slash nutrition coach at My Bariatric Adventure. And today's a little bit different than the normal videos that I do because I wanted to talk about a topic that is near and dear to my heart and just share my experience with you. And that topic is emotional eating. And it's something that I struggled with. I think I really became an emotional eater probably in my late teens, early 20s, and then somehow it got kind of all tangled up with dieting. So I was an emotional eater, not understanding how to control maybe the emotions I was feeling, whether it was anger or sadness, depression, anxiety, feeling overwhelmed, all those sorts of things. And going to school to be a dietitian, to be honest, it didn't help because I know many of you have told me that, you know how to eat well and you don't understand why you just can't do it. And I can tell you, being a dietitian, it feels like 10 times that sometimes. And, it was for many years, I would say at least 20 years, a really a hard struggle for me figuring out how to cope with my emotions, that things I was feeling, and that seesaw, because emotional eating did help me. I wasn't taking medication to deal with anxiety or depression or the things that were hard in life. I was eating because it would just make me feel numb and help me to cope. And so that was what I did for a long time. And I went through a treatment program, met with a wonderful group of women that helped me and encouraged me. We met for a whole year, and it helped me so much and gave me so much strength. And I've told you before, I continued meeting with a good friend of mine, and I kind of hate the word accountability partner. um, Let me just call her a confidant, because she went through some of the same things I went through, and she's a trustworthy person. So we continue to meet every couple weeks by Zoom and share. But the last couple weeks, it's there's just some transitions happening in our life. Some transitions happening with my job, some transitions happening with my husband's job. Our kids are old enough, they're getting ready to, leave the roost here and get out on their own. And, we're super excited for them. And there's that part of you that is kind of sad for that happening. And just a lot of different things kind of swirling around. And can I be honest? I am 50. And so menopause is a real thing. And, still going through the ups and downs of that whole cycle, menstrual cycle, and all of that. And it just kind of came to a head last week. And I have been working on my own health and fitness goals, and I've been tracking and doing really great. And then last week, everything just kind of ground to a halt. And I continued tracking because I refuse to allow emotional eating to take over my life and make me feel like crap all the time. So I continued to track what I was eating, because normally, to be honest with you, when I was tracking in the past and I would kind of have those days of emotional eating, and maybe you're the same way, I just wouldn't track because I didn't want to know what I was doing. I didn't want to know how far off the rails I had gone. But I have kind of made this promise to myself that I'm going to do what I can to stay on track. And that means eating with my mind open, not shutting down my brain, still thinking about the things that maybe hurt or feel uncomfortable or painful, and still processing those, and still allowing myself when I need to eat. Um, so I don't know if that's the best nutrition advice I can give you, but that is what has worked for me. Is even though I might have those episodes where I eat more than I want, I continue to do the other things and process that as I walk through that. And to be honest, around the time that I am having my period, starting that whole cycle, I I allow a little bit more room in what I'm eating, because I know there's hormonal changes that are happening, and I have this thing about I hate being hungry. So I am not going to have cravings and hunger drive me crazy. And so I'm going to try to figure out what are the best things that I can eat, um, or how to fit them in my meal plan, whether it's eating chocolate or ice cream or pizza or whatever. I'm going to figure out how to fit them in there. If that means I have to make adjustments somewhere else, I'm going to do that. If that means I'm a little bit over, then I'm going to do that. If you have had weight loss surgery, that might not be the advice I would give to you. Um, especially if you're in that first year. If you're in that first year, my advice to you, if you're really struggling with emotional eating, is to seek counseling. Find a good therapist, a counselor that you can work with to unpack what's happening in your head and with your emotions. Because even, after weight loss surgery, there's always that little honeymoon period where you feel like you've conquered it, and you feel like you know what you're doing, but then life happens, something may happen, or it's a year out after surgery, and those thoughts start to creep back in, those emotions start to creep back in, and you're left kind of wondering what to do. Some people go through that honeymoon period, some people don't. Um, so if you're in that first year, that's not what I would recommend for you. But if you're farther out and you're already an emotional eater, if you're pre-surgery and you're an emotional eater, then that's what I would recommend. Start tracking what you're doing and pay attention, and don't allow yourself to eat and close off your mind, because that is, for me, a dangerous place. When I start to not think about the things that are causing me to eat, then I'm really in trouble. So last week, because of all those different things, I was eating more than normal, eating things I wouldn't probably normally eat, and maybe the amounts I wouldn't normally eat them. Um, but I was continuing to track, continuing in my other, spiritual practices. I pray, I journal, those sort of things I was continuing to do to kind of try to figure things out, and kind of working through my list of things I can do, and just being honest with myself about what I was feeling, and also being honest with my family, being honest with my husband about how I was feeling about certain things. And that was able to let the pressure valve off for me, to help me to deal with the things I was feeling and those emotions. And, the other hormonal part of that seems to have kind of leveled itself out as well. So I just want to encourage you that if you're an emotional eater, um, it's not always easy. And for me, have I conquered it? Absolutely. Are there moments where it kind of rears back up again like it did last week? Yes, absolutely it does. But I'm not that same person I was before. I don't hide behind eating. I'm not off, in a dark room eating, or, eating on my way home in the car, trying to hide it from people. Uh, I might be doing those things, but I'm paying attention to what I'm doing. So if you're in the same boat that I am, really it's about the mental work. For me, it was just realizing there's some hormonal fluctuations that are happening. We're dealing with all this life change stuff, and trying to figure out, okay, who do I need to reconnect with? I have other friends that, because of life and the holidays and everything else, we haven't spent as much time together. So I'm going to be intentional about reconnecting with them. We're getting ready to go on a little bit of a trip here, and I know that will help with kind of that mind reset as well, and just planning and preparing for what the future has for us. So before I go, I just want to encourage you that if you are someone that struggles with emotional eating, and even if you're like me, you're like, hey, I've conquered it. I have still conquered it. It has not conquered me. That's in my past. It does rear up its ugly head every once in a while. There are temptations, and I can tell you, there were other 100 different temptations before this one that I was able to get through using the tools and skills that I've put in place talking to my confidant, you know, spending time in prayer and journaling, going for walks and all those sort of things. And I just got so busy and caught up in life that I quit using the tools I had. So I want to encourage you to use the tools that you have. Start making a list of those other things that you can do. What I'm going to do for you is I have some resources, things you can ask yourself about emotional eating, a form where you can start putting together a checklist of other things that you can do beside eat, and some questions that you can ask yourself about whether or not you're an emotional eater, a stress eater. Was a binge eater. So I'm going to package together some resources to give you to begin to kind of go down this journey with me. If you have struggled like I did, from the time I was, let's say, 16, 17 until I was in my 40s. So what is that, 30 years I struggled with emotional eating. And if you're like me and it's something that seems so super embarrassing and something that maybe you want to hide away from, I encourage you not to do that anymore. The program that really helped me is called Finding Balance, and I'll link to one of their videos on YouTube so that you can watch what they have and see if maybe that is an option for you to get the support and help and encouragement you need if you're an emotional eater. I'll link those tools, I'll link that video for you, and let me know where you're struggling when it comes to emotional eating. What do you need more help with? Do you need options to know what to do instead of eating emotionally? Do you need some resources, some guidelines of how to structure your day so that you are less apt to emotionally eat? There are so many things I could do for you. You just tell me what you want and you need, and I'll make sure that I get something together for you. Or if I don't have it, I'll point you in the right direction. Because emotional eating is a topic that I am really passionate about, and because I'm free of that, I want to help other people be free of that as well. So thanks for joining in. Thanks for watching the video here, and I'll see you soon, all right? Take care.